Years before he was ever the king of Pride Rock, Mufasa was an orphaned cub who met a royal lion named Taka, and their chance meeting set an expansive journey in motion, which featured an extraordinary group of misfits searching for their destinies. Now, I'm just gonna say this right off the top, I actually do like the 2019 remake of The Lion King. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as the original version, obviously, but it's exactly how I pictured a live-action Lion King movie to look like. And plenty of people wanted to see a live-action Lion King, which is why it made over $1 billion at the box office. So I don't know what people were expecting when they showed up to watch the remake. The only criticism I'm willing to concede on is how surprisingly unexpressive the characters were, especially in comparison to their animated counterparts. But everything is naturally more expressive in animation, so this is just something that I already expected to see. Plus, considering how terrible talking animals tend to look like in live action, especially in a Disney film, The Lion King remake looked like a visual fucking masterpiece by comparison. Seriously, the technology on display in that film is nothing short of impressive. And I'm glad that Favreau kept utilizing this technology when he produced Apple's Prehistoric Planet, because the series looks visually stunning. But okay, people didn't like the dull and National Geographic look of the 2019 remake, so director Barry Jenkins ditched it for his sequel. As a result, the characters are a bit more expressive and the environments are a bit more colorful. So how did I feel about this change? Honestly, I didn't really care for it, because this is a live-action film that is desperately yearning to exist as an animated feature. So watching these colorful yet live-action lions going around singing with genuine emotion actually came across as rather cartoonish to me. And the sillier cartoonish elements are in stark contrast with the more serious and dramatic story being told, which means that the film fell face first right into the uncanny valley. So while I'm glad that some people were able to enjoy the expressive animals or the original story being told, I struggled to enjoy these two elements together because of the weird cognitive dissonance that they created. And speaking of cognitive dissonance, I was really disappointed with Lin-Manuel Miranda's music. And I am a really big fan of Miranda's work, so I'm not exactly sure what happened on this particular soundtrack. I mean, it's clear that Miranda had a certain love and reverence for the original source material, but that reverence didn't make any of his new songs any good. Now, I don't hate any of the tracks that some people have been making fun of online, but I can't deny that the soundtrack feels pretty forgettable overall. And by that metric alone, Mufasa the Lion King marks one of the worst soundtracks of Miranda's entire career. So I really wish that Miranda worked on the soundtrack to Moana 2 instead, because I feel like both films would have actually turned out better as a result. But Mufasa also feels like a step in the wrong direction for director Barry Jenkins as well. Because Jenkins is an incredibly talented filmmaker who knows how to tell grounded and humanistic stories, but Mufasa the Lion King feels like the exact opposite of that. In fact, I would say that this is a surprisingly impersonal film that feels like it was made by a soulless corporate committee. And that does make sense given how this is an unnecessary Disney prequel after all, but I have no idea where Disney's control ends and Barry Jenkins' vision begins, because the movie feels like it came straight off of a conveyor belt. And that doesn't inherently make the movie any better, bad, you just wouldn't expect the film to be made by the same guy who helmed the Academy Award-winning feature Moonlight. Because there are a lot of character moments that would have made this story feel all the more personal, moments that could have made for a more profound feature film, but these moments are quickly brushed over or ignored completely in order to force the more contrived prequel plot points into the narrative. For example, Taka, which is Scar's actual birth name, spends about no time grieving the death of his parents that he genuinely loved no less. But he spends the entire back half of the movie being mad at Mufasa for liking the same girl lion that he likes, a girl that they barely spent any time with at this point. And Taka has so much jealousy for the relationship that Mufasa develops with Sarabi that he's willing to form an alliance with Kairos, who is the lion who killed and potentially ate his parents to begin with. What the fuck is that? Taka showed throughout the duration of the film that he absolutely loved Mufasa, but he throws that love away and plots to murder him because of a little jealousy? How could he possibly have stronger emotions towards his own brother doing something so harmless than towards the maniac who killed his entire tribe? It just doesn't make any sense. And I know jealousy can make people do a lot of stupid things, but I don't buy that it would make Taka align himself with the person who killed his entire family. But if the movie spent more time focusing on Taka and his grief, or showed that he never loved Mufasa as much as he really thought he did, then maybe his jealousy towards Mufasa would have felt more believable. And there are plenty of other moments like this featured throughout the film, but with all of the other characters. So none of the characters feel as fleshed out as they probably ought to be. Which is a shame, especially considering the talented cast involved with this film. But everyone involved with the creation of this movie is extraordinarily talented, so I don't know why the film turned out to be so mediocre. Because Mufasa the Lion King may not be a particularly bad film, but it isn't a particularly good one either. And that's coming from someone who really wanted to enjoy this movie. Sure, I was confused about why Mufasa's blood lineage to Scar had to be changed, but I thought the story being told would end up justifying that change in a captivating way. And it just didn't. And that about sums up how I feel about the movie as a whole. Mufasa the Lion King should be a much better film than it actually is. But since it failed to add anything insightful to the Lion King mythology, it wouldn't unfortunately get a recommendation from me. But I appreciate anyone who took the time to hear my full thoughts on this movie, so as always, thanks for watching.